Hello and welcome to Martini's Eco and Country Bites. Well, it's been a whirlwind of a few weeks, and this week has been quite a shock to many people that thought that we might have a slightly different outcome as far as who is going to come into power in the States and federally. So in WA here, we've got Labor and Labor. It's a double whammy for us. So the things that we've been concerned about for myself and many other communities is the failing energy system that they're trying to implement, which is reliant on uh, solar arrays and offshore and onshore wind turbines, where it's weather related, it can never give baseline energy. So today I have invited a dear friend and someone who I see as a brother in arms, a wonderful human being that has been standing united against the tyranny and the craziness that's going on towards this whole net zero. And this is where the umbrella of net zero and this climate change with Paris Accord Agreement has been our undoing as a nation. So I'm going to bring to the stage now. Here he is, Farmer Kev. Hello, Kev. How you doing?
Not too bad, thanks, Marty.
Good to hear. Now, we only
Mm.
met fairly recently, but when we met at the steps of Parliament House, you made such a presence, and that was not just to me, but to many, many people. Not only did your stature of height stand out, but it was your constitution and your resolution to standing tall to represent the issues that you found were major concerns shared by many in rural WA and Australia as a farmer. Perhaps you can give our viewers and the people here in WA, Australia, and worldwide that watch Edge Radio Australia to give them an insight in your background, what you're involved in as a farmer, and the things that are really concerning you.
Yes, for sure. Well, I mean, as a farmer, it was basically a choice that I made when at a very young age, and and I'm not unhappy with the choice because it's what I've enjoyed for the last 44 years, and prepared to stick it out for the for however long I can do it. But recently, we just seem to be getting a lot of interference from people who don't understand our industry, what we do, how we do it, and basically we're just being kicked around, and we've just probably had enough of it. And of recent is the latest election, which banned our live export, which has, I've got to say, gone through an absolute transition from a horrible event to something that the rest of the world is envious of. Um, We've got rules, regulations, and rightly so, because we're looking after animals and making sure that they get to their destination well, happy, healthy, and fit for the purpose that they were being delivered for. Now, this this government took to the election apparently that they wanted to ban this export because of inverted commas a declining trade. Now, this is what the Prime Minister said. Now, that is not really a reason to stop an industry that's gone through these um, huge um,
Transformation and changes.
transformation. That's right. To make sure this is a really good industry, but we've gone through things like a serious security system right from the start. That the farmer takes them to the boat, to the trucks them, takes them to the boat, puts them on the boat. They're fed, they're monitored all the way until they're right to the plate at the end. I mean, they don't lead them off and use them as pets. It's there for a purpose. So that's what it's there for food. So, and it's done really well. Things like stocking densities, moratoriums on times you can do it. No heat and no stress, good food, high tech abs at destinations. All this stuff has happened. So for him to just say to pull the wool, pardon the pun, pull the wool over our eyes and
It's a good one.
ban this because of basically animal activists and votes is just really unfair. And I do think people are starting to see this. I mean, there's some diehard people that say, right, okay, it's cruel, and you can't talk to them. I've experienced that recently in when I volunteered for polls on election day, and sometimes people are interested, sometimes people want to know, some people just shudder at the thought of it. Now, that's just an uneducated guess at what goes on. So they got to know these things. So
One
yeah,
thing,
so
Kev, let's can I just, sorry to interrupt you there. And the point,
mm,
there's so many points you've just made that for the so many city people, connecting the dots to them, saying that what you're saying and what everyday farmers are saying in rural Australia and WA is that if we are not supporting farmers, they're going to have to sell up and they're not going to be able to put food on your table. And that's not just one side. So the live export is one side, but then the domestic, they're related
yeah,
here. So
yeah, exactly.
this is where people have failed to see the connection. So this is why I want to come back to this,
Mm,
and maybe
yeah,
if you can even elaborate even more. I don't know the figures as far as export to domestic supply, but that is something I really want to join the dots to city people. Like,
yeah,
I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat anymore. I was born in Bruce Rock, and I grew up in rural Western Australia, and it's in my blood. I'm fiercely protective of country values and community, because I think even though it had its faults, the way that people came together and united to be really successful as strong communities was what I grew up with. And that's the thing that has
mm,
been continually attacked by government, by policies and legislation, that has nothing to do with our culture, has nothing to do with our values and ethics and what's good for this nation. So if you can perhaps go back to joining the dots with the export industry and the domestic supply,
yeah,
because
sure.
these are,
Yeah,
they're related, and why
yeah,
it's so pivotal to make sure that we need to keep the sheep for export and domestic supply.
yeah, yeah. So basically, the numbers are 3 years ago there was approximately 15 million sheep in Western Australia. They're projecting that by the end of this year there'll be five. Now, now, the experts have said that you need in this state about 10 million head to warrant the amount of abattoirs and killing space and to supply the domestic markets. A lot of it's export still, but goes chilled,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all right. That's another market. That's America. That's still in the Arabic countries as well.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the things like so. 5 million head. Now this industry will collapse. Now, we will, I guarantee it, be importing meat from the eastern states. Now, sometimes they don't have enough because they're not an export um, type of entity, but we will be bringing it over. Now, at the moment in the sale yards, lamb in the eastern states is $2.80 a kilo more than we are getting. Now, you got to that you're going to have, the consumer will have to pay this plus the freight. Now you know what freight's worth; it's going through the roof. Now you can pretty well double what you're going to pay now if you want it. So the choice is there. You know, we're looking for support. It's not a joke. This is actually real. We live this. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is the way, this is what we're doing. We're not just making stuff up.
No.
So these are the numbers. So that's where we're coming from. So the domestic supply will fade. And if you really want some lamb, you're either going to have to steal it or you're going to have to get it from the eastern states. So that's the bottom line.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that to me, and again, I'm not a meat eater now, but that's my personal choice. But I absolutely
Mm,
support all of these industries, the fishing industry, everything that is the backbone of what I
yeah.
see this nation. And
Yeah.
the reasons why I don't eat meat are personal, and I don't feel that I have absolutely any right to push my value system and
Mm,
my own code of ethics onto other people and expect them. Just like I
yeah.
don't have pronouns that I expect
Precisely.
other people
Yeah.
to read. Yeah. So
I respect
um,
that.
so yeah, and so this is the thing, is that I have been an advocate for this for a long, long time, and
Yeah.
people are shocked when they find out I am a vegetarian. But I do eat cheese and a few other products that like butter. So
Yeah.
I can't be hypocritical and saying that.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
what I want more than anything is a strong nation to live and to exist for my children, grandchildren, my great grandchildren, and I want
Yeah.
to bring
Yeah.
back some of the value system I grew up in, because I could see it's
Yeah.
already gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in
True.
that
Yeah.
is a kid chewing on a lamb chop. So, whether I
Yeah.
choose not to or someone else, but to see that in others where you can even afford your child to even chew on a lamb chop, because as a kid, that was a staple of our diet. Our farmers, they were allowed to kill their own stock back then. And so they did.
Yeah.
And we would get it from our family members. So
Yeah.
for us, it was like the most available and good source of protein to make strong,
Mm.
healthy bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Precisely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we can't
Um,
let this go.
so now I think this goes back. This has got to go back to the start somehow, and this is some sort of cure that I can see.
Mm.
It needs to be there needs to be some education of food origin. Now, when I was polling at the election on the weekend, I said to a lady that asking questions that Western Australia is going to run out of lamb, and she says it's okay, but because coals have got plenty. Now that is true. That is as true as I sit here and tell that. It's not a story. Now, these are the things. This is why I say education needs to begin, so schools can know where they will need to grow a few seeds, and they need to look at animals. They need to maybe do a farm trip, things like that to just sort of
You nailed it. I,
broaden
I
their
had this
horizon, make it
conversation.
aware. Yeah,
I had this conversation and I said, why aren't we doing the same thing we used to do back in the 80s? We used to have like exchanges and you'd go and
yeah,
stay in
yeah,
a neighboring town. So I said last year, my suggestion is that why aren't we having sister schools where schools from the country can teach city kids what food looks like? How do you grow it? Whether that's, growing vegetables or whether that's growing like beef,
yeah,
lamb, even fishing, understanding what the fishing industry is, because
yeah,
it's so
yeah,
sustainable in
absolutely,
Australia,
yeah,
and
yeah,
getting them connected back to the
yeah,
source. Because
yeah,
without you
spot
guys,
on.
the primary
Yeah,
producers are the ones that
this is the
feed it
beginning.
into
Yeah,
the system. That's correct.
yeah,
So
yeah,
this shows where the disconnect is. It
yeah,
started,
yeah,
I would say, about 20,
yeah,
30 years ago, where there was a lot in my generation that did walk off the land, that didn't want to take over from their fathers, um, and didn't want to continue farming. And then
yeah,
was so many well planned, like degrading, I would say, of the industry and
yeah,
the whole
yeah,
communities in WA and Australia, not just in WA, um, that have been attacked. And so it goes back to the tier 3 railway system. So once that got disconnected, all those tiny, smaller communities that were always
yeah,
strong started to fall apart because they didn't have
exactly.
the connection. And
Yeah,
so it goes back to that. And now it's a case of, I think it's time to get our heads together. And just like you said, let's educate city kids and city people about
yeah,
where our food comes from.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That will help. I mean, it's funny because, and of course, TV promotion, social media. Now, I focus on the TV one with, a farmer wants a wife. and, people love that show and they go, oh, a farmer wants a wife. I
Hmm.
mean, there you go. That's the start. And people see that and they go, oh, I wonder what a farmer is, but probably doesn't quite register. But anyway, that's one of the things that that's about the only thing at the moment that promotes farming. It's a farmer wants a wife. So anyway, yeah,
And it's so surface level too. It's just, I get that it's for love and relationship, but it's like, what's the point in trying to have a relationship and raise a family in rural communities when it's not supported?
mm, yeah,
Seriously. Like,
precisely. Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
what are
exactly.
the other issues that are? I mean, we know the export and domestic market are being attacked. I'm going to
Yeah,
bring something up here. I have been saying this to my family members who into merino wool, and my other side of the family, which were all about mostly lamb um, for eating. So this here, I want everyone to just have a look at this. This is talking about the stock market and how there's a growing trend to fully return in the next 5 years to natural fiber clothing and material. I have
yeah,
been banging on this drum and I said, do not, whatever you do, give up your lamb that produces really good quality wool, because
yeah.
in the next 5 years there's going to be a massive swing back to natural fibers. And this
Mm-hmm.
this this is a reports coming out all over the world, and the reason being is that natural fibers keep us healthier. So, as someone who's into holistic health and a healer and doing all this stuff for a long, long time, 30 years, I have been saying that the healthier our bodies are, just without having to do too much, which is eating well, sleeping well, putting good things on our bodies. Wool
Mm.
and
Yeah.
linen and organic bamboos and cottons are the best thing to keep what is called our vibration high, which is why they used to have linen and wool used in hospitals. They know that
Yeah.
linen promoted wound healing in general and a person improved better, but there's also a lot of research being done going back to using wool in band-aids and applications for wounds, because the keratin in the wool actually helps with healing in the skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're talking
Yeah.
about there's all of these industries that are sitting there knowing that they could exist, but then we have a government that doesn't want to invest in it, and
Yeah.
even have our own industries internally. So this
Yeah.
is something where, do you feel like it's coming back to the cooperative time that we used to have back in the 60s, like 50s, 60s, 70s, where there was a lot of
Mm,
co-ops in country areas?
no, I don't. I think
Okay.
I really think that that might be gone. There was a bit of a push a while ago. There was a few, it was one was called United Farmers, and a few other ones that have gone by the wayside because they've been pushed out basically by the big guys.
Mm.
Now cooperatives, yeah, they're like a tax-free entity and things like that, but you just somehow, I mean, even with our grain market, people might disagree with me, but we're sort of in control, but not really. It costs us a lot of money. And a few questions are always been asked about cooperatives, I think. Yeah, but um, so the short answer is probably not. But yeah, but there's a lot of other issues too that have got to try to keep farmers farming. Um, there's all these new things that have come with this new government. Is it about time to talk about government, or I just can't?
Yeah, look,
I'm not-
you kick
yeah, I'll
off
just
before
pick
I
up.
get Tourette's and
I'll pick
start
up.
swearing.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, sorry. Um, we had the state government with their ACH laws, and they're still trying to, fire off their firearm business, and when we've got the voice take two and the ute tax, that's 28 grand it's going to cost me to upgrade my ute extra on top of the price in July. Now I can't do that with an electric ute. Sorry, I just need the horsepower and I've just got to do the work with what I've got. Now that's actually really unfair. I feel a tradie
Mm.
might be able to pass on those costs, but being at the bottom,
Yeah.
where we're at the start, we've got nowhere to fire off that sort of stuff. And a few other things like the unrealised capital gains, and that'll ruin farming. And I mean that's inheritance tax. I mean that's like a death
Oh,
tax, the old death tax. Um, you know,
that's next
living
level.
in the
That really is. That
that's
is
just
the
going to be a
biggest
killer.
kick in the guts. Yeah.
Yeah, kick a man while he's down, type of thing. But I do feel that farmers and this is rural communities, because we're all in this together. And
Mm.
I definitely don't cancel them out. We need each other because that's what makes our towns. I think that we can get together here and really. I feel that there is a sleeping giant laying around, but we just got to wake it up and get it mobile. Um, to do that, well, spread the word. It's the only way to do it. Um,
Yeah.
you know, other things too, like how lousy. I mean, people complain in cities about internet and phone coverage and hospitals, and I mean, come out here and have a bit of a look. And what is your phone doesn't work? Oh, your phone doesn't work here. You get internet here. They ask the question and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, sometimes, but
Yeah.
all these things are forgotten. And we're people. We live here. We just we do stuff to try and help the nation as well as doing things we enjoy. And just have a look out for us. We're here.
And it's that reconnection. And that's where I said, in
Yeah,
my generation, it started to fall apart because there's a lot of people that didn't want to continue farming. And
yeah,
I have a
yeah.
lot of mates that I grew up with. So if any of my mates from Meriden Senior High School, Muncie, Bruce Rock,
They're
Borough
still out
or you
there. They're still
California.
there. Yeah, yeah,
Sending love to you all, because staying there on the land and doing what you do is what has made this nation as strong as it is. And
yeah,
although I did my own journey, I have always had that in my heart, and it's something I'm incredibly passionate about. My family is still up in the country. Um, I, some of them are on the land still, and certainly down
yeah,
south, my family down there are, but they are looking at some pretty diabolical, like you said, Kevin,
yeah,
pretty diabolical scenarios that have been put to them. You know, how on earth is a farmer going to come up with $28,000 to deal
yeah.
with changing your
And
ute
yeah,
and
yeah,
this is
exactly.
CO2 emission. This is net zero. So let's call it for what it is. It's absolute
Yeah,
gobshite. And I'm going to
yeah,
say it. I've been banging this drum for a long time, this climate change hysteria that somehow saying that CO2 is responsible for changing the planet's weather
yeah,
patterns is ludicrous.
yeah,
That
yeah,
whole science is being blown apart day by day. I believe in climate change, but I do believe that it's natural cycles and that farmers are the ones who have
yeah,
always pointing this out.
absolutely.
I had a farmer come up to me. He said, "This weather pattern is like 44 years ago," and he
Yeah,
was in his 80s. And he said, "This is what it was like 44 years ago." I said, "You 44 years is like I remember it. It was this blah blah blah."
yeah. So
They
this
said,
is that.
and
Yeah,
I went, "It
yeah,
was," and like and I'm
yeah,
like, "Wow." And again, it's like because there's this disconnect. No one honors the wisdom of farmers. Makes
mm,
me angry
yeah,
because you know farmers have to be fairly intuitive, have to live by their gut instincts a lot.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
battling wild and conditions of nature, and you have to take a gamble on things that people could not
mm,
even trying to get through their consciousness the way that you live. Kevin, where do you see moving forward, apart from just the education and sharing our stories, how do you think that we could come together and maybe organize some community events where sharing of stories and bringing solutions together as community based, not as any kind of political movement, because this is the
mm,
thing that I feel has kind of impeded a little bit.
yeah,
It's been a double edged sword. Like it's brought some things to the front, but then it didn't go quite as far as it could have for many people that wanted to speak out more. Um, so, what is it? And that's not a criticism, it's observation. So, what
mm,
is it that you think would be great to get out to communities to wake up some of those farmers that are sitting back thinking someone's going to come along with a magic wand and make it all better for
mm,
them?
yeah. The solution is, I'd say, you've got to work. You can't do a broad spectrum. You've got to like pick out your town and work on that. So if everyone does this around their areas, at least then we've got a lot of people doing something. Whereas it tends to be there's a few people doing a lot of things that doesn't quite get right to the spot. Now, I actually rang this morning, and I've started this my new project now that keep the sheep, and that was fantastic, by the way. And I mean, I just take my hats off to everyone who's involved in that.
Yeah,
So,
bravo.
and but the
Dedication.
but I've started today. So I rang an up and coming farmer that's trying to set himself up and his children for the next generation. So that's at risk anyway. And I said, be aware of this, what's going on. Oh, yeah, but I'm a positive type of guy and it'll probably won't happen. It'll go away. And I said, well, that's where you're wrong because, and he's sort of on board now. And I think that's what it's going to take is basically do a
Mm,
one-on-one thing, then get together and then try to spread the word and grow it from there. But trying to do stuff on your own and trying to make a difference, not on your own, but as a small group, which I can't tell you how many was in our latest effort, but it was well done, and we tried really hard, and we did all we could, and we're not going to give up either. By the way, it's probably just the beginning. That now that we've had a bit of practice, but we're a bit weary at the moment. I've got to say that.
mm.
Yeah, but
It
anyway,
has
that's what
been
we've got to
time for a
do.
pause. Yeah.
Yep, yep. We've
There
got to
is
just have
one
a
group
breather.
I'm going to shout out to that's new on the, it's for our farmers, Keep Live Export. This is a fairly new group that's just started. So anyone that's on Facebook, these are some of the groups that I'm going to refer you to. For our farmers, it's new. Please go on and join on Facebook. We've got Save Rural WA. We've got Keep the Sheep. What other ones can you think of, Kev, off the top of your head, that people from
Uh,
other areas that aren't involved in farming that are concerned
yeah,
about this, who else can they go join?
yeah. There's WA property rights. There's another one. That's actually pretty good. That covers
A
a lot
broad
of
range.
things. Yeah, broad range. So it's pretty well everything's on that. They're about the only ones that I look at, and what when I look at other stuff too, like Save Geograph Bay. You know, I mean that's just a no-brainer. Of course, you've got to save
Yeah.
it.
Thanks,
You
mate.
know, yeah,
That's a great little plug that I didn't have to do today.
it
Thank you.
is. There you go.
And and
But I
thank
think
you
it's real.
because we have been united all across WA. Save our beloved Geograph Bay. No wind turbines at Scott River. We oppose the Southern Marine Parks down in Esperance.
Mm,
We've got Keep Kelbarri Beautiful, and so
yeah,
many other communities that we have been growing. And like yourself, farmers that are now
yeah,
coming and saying, I do see very clearly how all of this issue is connected. We have been in this fight for the commercial fishing wetliners,
yeah,
and we have
yeah.
had numerous meetings with the WA rock lobster industry
Mm,
where we need to all come and unite together to support each other and make sure that strong communities on land and on
yeah,
our
yeah,
coastal regions, because
yeah,
there are a lot of crossover in a lot of regions where
mm,
farmers are rock lobster people, and
yeah,
sometimes there's conflict, but there's always a way to work through it, that there's still a win-win, and we have to support each other.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so I mean, there's lots of other things that I can rant about, but I probably
Go,
shouldn't
rant away. No, this is your
because
platform.
it comes sort of boring to some people to think that, oh, you're just a whinging farmer or something, but I'm not. I'm
Educate them.
concerned. Yeah, yeah. I mean, take take freight for example. You know, it's a big cost to lots of people, even in like cities, countries, whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, we actually pay freight off the farm and onto the farm, so it's a double
Mhm.
edged whammy.
Mhm.
We borrow money to expand our business, and we pay a margin from the banks, so
Mhm.
up to 2.5% on top of the percentage rate. Now that just really drives me mad. You know, people having a go, but no, we'll keep you down there and make sure you're going to pay us. And you know you're a risk, and you know you're going to pay extra interest. Now that's lousy. That's the
Mm.
worst thing. You know, I've covered capital gains tax. Now I'll cover a bit of leisure here. You know, we like to go to the beach, but
Mhm.
the Western Australian government's decided they're going to close the south coast to people. I mean, this is what Aussies
What a
do.
disgrace. Yeah.
It Aussies love to go to the beach,
Yeah.
whether you're a beachy person or whether you're a land man. You just love that ocean. It's just so nice. You know, it gives
I
everyone a
think
bit of
it's a
relief.
it's a reprieve, your relief of
Yeah,
reprieve,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
know so many Aussies that
mm,
that just want to, especially farmers, they go for a bit of a fishing trip and hit the coast and
yeah,
go fishing
yeah,
because
yeah,
they have a deep appreciation for
yeah.
that, and
And
having
that's
the
me.
availability. Yeah,
That's me. And you know, I don't even care if I catch a fish or not. It's just that I'm there. It's just lovely.
it
It's
looks good
just
in the
nice to be.
photos, doesn't it,
Oh,
mate?
it
Just
just
like
looks like you're one
people.
of them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, uh, you know, we have a farm, a farm. Uh, what do you call it? They do research for us, so it's R&D, and it's called GRDC. Now, there's going to be people slap me for this, but that fund is millions and millions of growers' dollars, and it's a percentage of your crop income that goes into it. Now they get that, and they play around with it, and they do trials here and trials there, but they are mainly focused on eastern states farming. There's a little bit here, we get jack all for it, and there's a great big slush fund of hundreds of millions of dollars sitting there of our money. Now these are the things that farmers today have got to stand up for, because people are
Mm.
just robbing you to do research. The best research sometimes, I mean, they're as experts in the field, I've got to say that, and they are good at it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of fairly good, innovative farmers around that can do their own trials and replicate trials from whatever they like to get whatever they want. So, you know, it doesn't cost anything except a piece of land and your equipment. So there's those things there are a real hassle, and they're undermining the profits of Australia, of Australian farmers, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean R&D is good, but come on,
hmm
tame it down a bit. Let's
I
let's
think that they use the distribution of population, which has got zero to do with the proportion of what WA supplies to the
yeah,
rest of the nation. It's always
yeah,
the same way. They love taking
yeah,
our revenue and taxes over here. We are the state that's thrown
mm,
under the bus continually for the East Coast.
yeah,
And people go, oh, that's not true. It's like, come and live here and see what happens day to
yeah,
day.
yeah,
And then you realize pretty much what you see is representation of the East Coast because it's to do with voting now. And this is
yeah,
where the
yeah,
issue
yeah,
is that
yeah,
they're aligned to money equals votes and seats, bums on seats when it comes to politics. And it shouldn't be that
mm,
way. It should be looking at merit by merit
yeah.
situations where,
Real
you know,
things.
you exactly and real
Mm,
outcomes. And the thing that really concerns me is that the lack of innovation, of moving forward with delegislate, like to deregulating many industries that could be starting up in Western Australia that would provide for actual manufacturing and industries that would give us growth. And this is the problem. I feel like we're
yeah,
going round and round
mm,
on the hamster wheel here, where we're trying to
yeah,
reinvent the wheel when it's like, no, there are so many other things that could be
mm,
there that are available to farmers to support them in their industries and to start up different forms of manufacturing in
mm,
Australia and especially in WA. We are in a situation where we are or could be completely self sufficient in this state. And I'm not at any point saying that we want
mm,
to pull away from the rest of the nation. However, they recognize that, and that's why they don't give us so much power. That has
yeah,
always been my feeling for a long time now, is that they don't really want to give WA too much power, voice, and support, is because we cover so much of the industry that supports the rest of the nation.
yeah. No, exactly. But I am prepared to bat for our eastern states cousins because we're all Australians. But that's just the
Absolutely.
point that I was making. But so we're all in it together. We've got to pull
Yep.
together to make our country great. Well, make our country great again. That's terrible. But
Again.
anyway, that's
No, we'll
it.
say
Was
it.
it was?
We'll go
Man,
back
I
to
had the
the
best
MAGA.
childhood. It was fantastic. But not quite. But we've just got to get back to where we were rather than we're running way too fast. Can't
Yeah,
keep up.
we're coming too far away now. We're diverging too far away from what our own value system and what makes us a strong nation, and especially rural communities. I think that it's
Yeah.
so important to realize that every state needs to be seen for the issues that it has to deal with. And this is why, big shout out to Billboard Battalion, Wade and the crew there, and so many others that are fighting hard all across this nation to bring awareness to what's going on for farmers and regional
Mm,
communities. So, love
yeah.
you, Wade
Yeah.
and guys. Um, and there's many others that are out there doing it. I think that's just time for us to come together, though. I think there has to be uh, some events that come up that are not organized just by one person, but it is a collaboration where more heads are put together and not to be the ones taking the stage, but to create the stage and the platform to hear those real issues and
Mm,
to then bring some further education and awareness to what some of the solutions are. Do you think that
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something that could be started off once people have caught a breath?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Um, people, I mean, people are busy these days, aren't they? So, there's
Yeah,
always
we're all busy.
the oh, I just don't have time type of thing, and I totally get it. I totally get it, but I think there's coming a time that we're going to have to make time
hmm
because it will not be
Stop
worth it
making
in the end.
excuses and make time. I
Yep,
agree.
yep. It'll be worth it's worth getting out of bed for. Well, then make time for it.
Couldn't agree more,
Yeah,
because if we're
yeah,
still relying on the same people to keep stepping up and the ones to be out there fighting for us when we know that we could actually just get out of bed a bit earlier or go and do something on a day where we thought we were going to have a day off ourselves. I was saying, I'm feeling a bit tired and ratty myself. I haven't really had a day off in over 3 weeks. And,
yeah.
I can't complain. Farmers do that all the time.
Yeah, but thing is, we enjoy it. You see, so just let us enjoy it. This is what we do. When people might say, the man in the street might say, "Well, if you don't like it, go and do something else." Well, we actually do like it, but we don't
Yeah.
want. all this regulation. Speaking of
Mm.
regulation, a bloke told me a while ago that was in the know, told me there's 142 regulations to plant a wheat crop, and there's
Ah,
164
stop.
regulations to plant a canola crop. Now,
Just stop.
it's just a gravy train. If someone's making money out of this, and it's definitely not me. So
What bureaucrats are sitting there wasting taxpayers' dollars writing up all
yeah,
of this to tell
yeah,
farmers how and when they can
yeah,
plant a crop?
exactly.
Wow.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
bureaucracy.
It's rubbish. Yeah, it's absolutely rubbish.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's apparently what makes Australia tick. But no, it
for
doesn't.
sure.
People like, genuine people make Australia tick. So
And common
that's how it is.
sense.
Yeah.
There's
Now, just
something.
have to
Let's bring
add,
common sense back.
yeah, that's right. Common sense would be terrific, and basically say what you think. Say what you feel, and don't worry about if you offend someone, because they need to grow up and put their big boy pants on and get over it.
Mm, yeah. Couldn't
So
agree
yeah,
more. Oh,
yeah,
look,
yeah,
when you grow up in the country, I mean, when you're a Gen Xer and you've seen it all and done a lot of stuff, and you've had to
yeah,
stand on your own 2 feet because no one was going to give you handouts, and you had
yeah,
to get off
yeah,
your own backside and get out there and make your own way in life.
mm,
Now there is this
yeah.
like everyone gets a trophy situation, and if someone upsets hurts your feelings, then there's going to be a court case or
Oh
someone
yeah,
needs to
yeah.
give you a big an apology on social
Uh,
media or something like that. I think last night
God.
last night we had an event here, and I think I might have called Elbow and Bowen little bitches. I
Well,
did
I'd
Tourette.
say
Sorry, we start
it
talking
should
about
be most of the population would say that, but anyway, or agree with it. Well, that's my point anyway. That's what
and
I
it's
think.
like when you have a man who's running away in blacked out vans from a 5 foot nothing blonde chick, another chick that's half disabled, and one farmer, and he's worried that's a security risk. You've got problems as someone who's supposed to be a leader. It's like,
Yeah,
really,
God, yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that is a
yeah,
worry.
yeah. Oh,
But
it is. Yeah,
I think we should be putting out there a call to all communities in WA, especially, but all Australia, because you
yep,
know, we can't be telling anyone else what to do. All we want to do is try and provide a platform for some better solutions and bringing community back to feeling like there's a bit more hope, and that
yeah, yeah,
uniting is where we're going to do it. So
yep,
regardless of what issues you've been fighting for before, if you're not on board with supporting farmers, supporting them as primary industry providers where they're putting food on your table day after
mm,
day after day, and to
yeah,
lose that security, food security
mm,
loss and energy security loss are the two biggest issues in this nation right now. And
yeah,
that was
yep,
where we were banging the drum so hard that they were trying to silence us so hard, because between myself and Alex and Scott, um,
yeah,
talking about these issues, now we're starting to see some people wake up post election and realize that they probably backed some of the wrong horses, or they put too much
yeah,
faith in some horses that weren't going to follow through. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's really important for people to get up off their backsides right here, right now, and realize that we need to come together as communities.
yeah.
Have to.
Absolutely, got to do that. Yep, have to do that. Yeah.
So
So, I mean,
maybe we can have some more dialogue about that. What are your ideas
mm,
moving forward?
well, I will contact all the like 30 to 40 year olds, because they are the ones that are going, they're the ones that are having a go, and obviously other people as well, but they're the ones that are pushing it hard, um, and and also I'll contact the school, I'll contact the Shire Council. I mean, I really feel that it isn't even at local government level. We're just there, and whatever, we just get a bit more revenue from you guys, because you got a bit more farmland, so it'll cost you a bit more. And they're always revaluing the land and then putting rates up because of that. I mean, that's just a joke. That's just, that doesn't need to happen. It's only what we produce. Oh, by the way, speaking of election issues, I did speak to the Labor person in Bullwinkle, and I asked her a few questions about a sheep enterprise and bits and pieces about DSIs and SCAS, and what's a ton of wheat worth, and do you know how many loaves of bread are made out of a ton of wheat, and all this sort of stuff. And she could not answer the question, any of them. And I asked her to go home, take all the things out of your fridge that don't come from farms, and I suggest that all you'll be left with is some ice blocks. And it's absolutely right. She didn't know what to
Right.
say, and she gave me her card and said, "Oh, I'm very pleased to meet you." Well,
Uh,
have a think about it.
you're
So
kidding.
there you go. That's how far it gets. It doesn't even get to waking up in the morning and going to your fridge and wondering where it comes from. So
How
yeah,
robotic can a person be?
yeah,
That you've just
exactly.
pointed that out to them.
Mm,
And not only do you provide every source of nourishment that's going into their fridge as farmers,
mm.
but they can't even recognize that they are
When
the
they get it out.
undoing of who you
Mm,
are personally. There's
yeah.
no remorse about that. There's no reconciling, holy moly, what are we doing here?
Mm.
There is, here's my card. Give me a call
Yeah, here's my
sometime. It's like,
card.
no,
Yeah,
I'm
here's
doing it
my
now.
card.
Here it is.
Yeah,
This is it.
yeah. So we live this. This is our life, and that's what we chose. And but recognition and a bit of where did our food come from would be fantastic. And one other thing. Well, not. I guess I'm not signing off. You're the sign-off person, but I'll just add this: that there's two things you don't do to a farmer. One is you don't tell him he's lazy, and the other thing is you don't criticise him when your mouth's full. So there's a fair bit of that going on.
So true.
Yes.
Oh, look, I think that,
Yeah.
you know, I think we've planted the seeds here today, Kevin. So I think that
Yeah.
to to farmers out there that have got family members, mates, friends that are involved in schools, school teachers, school principals, let's start planting those seeds, because what we want
Yeah.
is reconnection
Yep.
back to food sources, how it's grown and how it's processed, and that what is good for our bodies, and not allowing outside sources to dictate to us how we should be living our lives. I think it's time to get this going, and it has to be, strong farmers equals strong communities, and that is as
Mm.
simple as it gets. Strong farmers
Yeah.
create strong communities, and it's not just in rural, it's throughout the whole nation.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Because
Yeah.
people just have really lost that. I remember when growing up, I had family members that lived up in the city, and they always had their country cousins. I don't hear that anymore. It's like, oh, we're going to
Yeah.
go catch up with our family, or brothers, sisters,
Yeah.
cousins in the
Yeah.
country, and they always had that connection.
Yeah.
So they always would hear the stories about, they've been through a few years. It's pretty rough with drought, and or the yields have been really bad with some of the crops, and they've had all kinds of other stuff going on, and they had empathy for that. They had emotional connection, and now that
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
gone, there is
Yeah.
this ideology that's kicked in and taken place of empathy and compassion for what's really going on. And people are so indoctrinated with ideas that farmers out there don't care about their livestock, that they're cruel, that they're unloving, uncaring
Yeah.
people. And it's like that's so far
Always.
from the truth. Yeah,
Yeah.
so far from the
Yeah.
truth that it's actually disturbing. So I
It
think
is.
that let's plant the seed. Let's get that out there. Let's get teachers that are passionate about keeping their communities strong, that maybe we can come under the umbrella of strong farmers equals strong communities, and start
Mm.
engendering, like
Mm.
sponsoring, even if it's like working with communities from country to city, and doing like some kind of an exchange here through whether it's just educational programs and awareness,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
actual having kids go up and visit country areas where they'll go
Mm.
out to a farm and they'll see what a harvester is, and they'll see these things, and they'll
Mm.
see, oh, this is the land, this is how old they are, and it takes so much to get them to
Mm.
this, and then they end up in Coles, and your mum goes and
Yeah.
buys
Yeah.
them for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
that. Or even more
Yeah.
so in butchers, because butchers have disappeared in country
That's
towns.
true. Yeah.
That's
They have. Yeah.
that's what I want to see
And
back.
we
Butchers
had
coming
a
back.
just reminds me that we once, some time ago, had a young school group come from Balga in Perth and plant some trees on my farm. Now, I think they, when they thought it was, oh God, actually they grew them and planted them. So I reckon they got a lot out of that. So maybe
Yeah,
that's, they like that sort of thing. People like environmental stuff and planting a few
yeah.
trees and making it look good and, all that sort of business. Um, One little plug that I got for, and I'm not going to get emotional, but the
Maybe.
this recent decision about the live sheep, it really was. I mean, how do I feel about it? I feel it was based on emotion and emotion only, and not facts. Now, this is what
Totally.
some people don't understand. Now, the facts are all out there, and the people who made the rules could not be bothered to go and find out the facts. And I just feel that when we were really, really, really soft target, good one to gain a few votes, and we were betrayed by, and I'm going to say the ABC and SBS for fronting up with 10-year-old coverage that was really disturbing for any farmer to watch, when they could have done something better than that, put some new stuff on there. Now that really shows the agenda big time. So that's pretty well
Well,
what
all I
they
can
did to
say
us,
is,
crucified by
being someone
media.
who was, I was personally defamed on ABC and Four Corners, so I know exactly what that was and what it felt like, getting hate messages directly from people that I
Mm,
didn't even know.
yeah,
That my details and my Facebook account and all this other stuff was spread all over national um, TV broadcasting,
yeah,
and the level of propaganda and lies that they've gone to defame and destroy agendas, thoughts, real issues,
mm,
because it doesn't align to the
mm.
political agenda and ideology.
To
That's why
silence you. Yeah,
defund the ABC is one of the best movements I've been a part of for a while, and that's where I just think that it's just a desperate grab at, like you said, the emotional factor to manipulate people to vote a certain way
yeah,
because they are vulnerable and they don't know the truth and the facts. And that's
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what they did. It's called propaganda for a reason.
I'm disappointed in those people that
They,
saw
I
that.
don't know how they sleep at night. I
Yeah,
really don't. Like the botched editing job that was done to defame all of us that were talking out about how wind turbines on agricultural area and going into pristine forest systems where we're deforesting areas that are
yeah,
causing habitat destruction. Like, they have a go at farmers about degrading the land, but then they're deforesting areas of pristine habitat and
yeah,
killing off
yeah,
biodiversity. And it's like,
yeah,
well, farmers really aren't doing that. They're trying to do, it's the opposite end of the spectrum, but both are thrown under the bus because neither one of them are aligned with a political ideology which sits under a
yeah,
World Economic Forum, Paris Accord Agreement,
yeah,
Net Zero Agreement. So it's time for everyone to kind of wake up right now. It's
yeah,
we've done
yeah,
the soft, we've done a soft approach, and we have tried to be really kind about it. But
yeah,
unless you
yeah,
want this nation to be destroyed, you need to stand up and unite, and in a
yeah,
way that's loving and respectful to each other, and especially for the city people to start supporting farmers again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or just recognition would be good. That's all.
Well,
All we want.
recognition means they connect the dots, doesn't it, Kevin?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does.
Uh, I'm so grateful
Anyway,
for having you join me this morning on Edge Radio Australia and Martini's Eco and Country Bites.
yeah,
I know that
no
there'll be
problem,
more.
Martin. Yeah, yeah. No, it's all good. Thank you. Thanks for the invite. I've enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. If you've got any more farmers out there that want to get on and have a bit of a yarn to me and
Yeah,
have a bit of a, not a whinge and complain, but to bring up some
yeah,
other issues.
yeah,
This is what the other thing is, like hearing your perspective, and you're not just speaking from one group at all and representing just them. You're talking from your perspective and personally, and that's why
yeah.
it's so
Yep,
important to be sharing all these stories.
yep. No, that's no problem at all. That's good stuff.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Take care,
Martini.
Kev.
Good on you.
Bye.
Thank you.